welcome to the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast. My name is Nikki. I am also known as Knitting with Cat Hair on Instagram and Cat Hair Knitting on Ravelry. I'm coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, which lies atop the traditional lands of the Tagamashing Anishinaabeg people, where I live with my partner, our 2 daughters, and our 5 cats. Hence the name of the podcast, as I am always finding cat hair in my knitting. So a big warm welcome to all new viewers and a big welcome back to all returning viewers. I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their days to spend with me. So I'm filming in a new location. I don't think I've filmed in our living room in a few years now, actually, since the beginning of my podcast. So unfortunately it was raining outside, so on and off. And it's going to be raining for the whole weekend, so there wasn't really a great opportunity to film outside, although I do prefer to do so. So here I am in the inside, and because I'm in the living room, you may see some cats running about. I can already hear them. So yeah, I apologize for any distractions. It can be very distracting, I know. But yeah, hopefully they won't be too disruptive. All right, so in terms of admin, we just have the one thing going on. I am running a Marie Wallin make-along over on Instagram. You can follow along with the hashtag another year of MWMal. And if you want to participate, that's how you can show off your works in progress and your chatter and your plans. And when you do finish a pattern by Marie Wallin, you can use the hashtag another year of MWMalFO, and that is where I will be drawing prizes from. So the make-along started August 1st, and it will run until August 1st of 2023, so you have plenty of time to jump right on in. Yeah, we've already had a few finished objects, which is fantastic, and there's so many gorgeous works in progress happening. We also have a Slack group for the podcast, and within that group there's also a channel specific to the Marie Wallin make-along, so you can feel free to join that. I always put the link in the description down below to the Slack group, and you can also, I think you can also join via Instagram. I think I have it in my link tree as well over on Instagram. So yeah, it's a great little group. There's so many wonderful people in it, and there's like a wealth of knowledge. So if you know, for instance, if you are working a Marie Wallin project and you have any questions or you just need some help, there's always people to help, which is fantastic. And even if you're not working on a Marie Wallin pattern, very supportive little group. And yeah, we've just started doing weekly knit night video chats on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you'd like to join in, anyone is welcome. And yeah, I highly encourage you to join in. Okay, so let's start talking about the knits. So first off, I'll start with what I'm wearing, which is my first finished object. Today I'm wearing my newly finished Ranunculus, which is a pattern by Midori Hirose. I knit this version up, this is my 3rd one. This is, I'm calling my autumn version, and I knit it up in Nutiden, which is by Honor och Eyre. It's an unspun Swedish fiber. I held 2 strands together to knit this. And sorry, I just have some notes down here, so if you see me looking down, I used US 9 5.5 millimeter needles for the body, and then a US 7 4.5 millimeters for the rib. I made the size 4, which should have been a 52-inch finished bust circumference if I was on gauge, but I was not. I can't remember what my gauge is. I didn't write it down, but I know it's tighter. So it's smaller than 52 inches, but it still fits. I have a 45-inch bust for reference, and I still have, you know, it's not like super oversized. Let's see if I can stand up. Can't really see. Sorry, this setup isn't the greatest. But yeah, so it's not like super oversized like the original pattern is. It's more, this one's more fitted, and that's okay. That's what I wanted. I have a summer version, like I mentioned, I've made 3. So I have a summer version that I made out of a cotton alpaca, and it's quite oversized and cropped. And I just throw that on with my linen dresses, or just over top of a tank top, and wear it with jeans or skirts. And I've been wearing it so much. That's what led me to cast on another Ranunculus. They're so wearable. I know everyone talks about them. What else did I want to say? And then I made another version, a spring version, out of, it was a really interesting blend. It was a yarn that had nettle, silicone, linen, and cotton, I think was the mix. And then I paired it with a mohair and made like a short sleeve version. And I gave that to my mom, and it looks fabulous on her. So yeah, highly recommend this pattern. I've always said from the get-go that I was going to make 4 of them, 1 for each season. So I still have to make my winter one. I haven't decided what color I'll make that one in yet, but definitely want to make one. Okay, so in terms of the modifications or the choices that I made when I made this version of the Ranunculus, there's a smaller neckline and a larger neckline. A long time ago, I tried to do the smaller neckline and it was way too small. So I switched to the larger neckline. I've always done the larger neckline since then, and you can see it's not that large. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but it's a good size. Like, it's not too big. You can see, I think in the original, that the neckline was really large on the girl. Honestly, the original picture for the Ranunculus did not sell me on the pattern at all. The sweater looked so oversized on the model. It didn't look good to me. And I was never drawn to it until I started seeing other people's versions and realizing how beautiful it can actually look. Yeah. So anyways, I made, like I said, the larger neckline. I did 3/4 length sleeves with the, it's like a called for I-cord bind off in the pattern. So I did that. This is my first time doing that. I've always done short sleeves before. And I showed the body. It's not cropped. I did a longer length, but I did do the twisted rib at the bottom for the ribbing. So as mentioned, I used Nutiden. It only took 253 grams of the yarn to make this sweater, which, yeah, even if I had wanted to do like full length sleeves, sorry, my cats are making a ton of noise. I hope you guys can't hear this. I don't know what they're doing. Oh. Okay, it's quiet. I think they're more distracting than the wildlife outside when I film outside. I'm not sure though. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I think 300 grams, you could totally do, like holding it double, you could totally do like full length sleeves and get like a full length sweater out of it for my size, which I said was a 45-inch bust, which is a size 4. Yeah. And I knit this up as part of our Unspun Heroes Cal that's happening over on Instagram. You may have heard a bunch of podcasters talking about it. It's totally an informal make along or knit along. All you have to do is knit with unspun yarn of any kind. Doesn't have to be Nutiden. There's lots of different brands out there that carry unspun. Plotulopi is a pretty famous one. That's an Icelandic one. There's, is it Manchalopi? Manchalopi, I think, is a Spanish version. And then we have some in Canada as well. There's Briggs & Little has some, I forget what it's called, but I know that Sophie from Cozy Meadow Knits podcast is planning on casting on her Ranunculus using the Briggs & Little version of the yarn paired with, I think she's pairing it with mohair, if I remember that correctly. So anyways, yeah, feel free to jump on in. Just use the hashtag. I've put it here. And it goes, this knit along is going until the end of January. So there's still lots of time. Okay, so that is it. I think I've mentioned everything I want to mention about my finished object. So I'll move on to the next one, which I have to go grab. I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. I had to run up to my daughter's room. So my next finished object is Christopher Bunny. Aren't they so cute? So my daughter, I mentioned this in the previous episode when I had just cast this on. my 12-year-old, who doesn't ask for anything anymore, doesn't want any hin, it isn't as knit-worthy as she used to be, had asked me to make this bunny on a whim. And I agreed. and ever since I finished it, she's been like, she sleeps with it at night and whatever. She loves it. She loves it. I know she's 12, but she loves her stuffies. So yeah, I finished the bunny. Its name is Dusty. It is a gender fluid bunny. So I can make all of the things and they are happy to wear them. The pattern is by Susan B. Anderson, and you get a pattern for not just the bunny, but also a little outfit. So you get this little color work sweater. They're so cute. And there's pants as well. I haven't finished the pants yet, so I'm still working on them. So yeah, I knit Dusty out of Patton's Classic Wool Worsted in the colorway Natural Mix, which is just such a really, it never picks up on camera, but it's really pretty. It's a mix of beige and pinky browns and grays. It's just really pretty. And yeah, this is my first time making a stuffy. They're a little fiddly, I have to say, but this one's cool because it's not seamed. So you don't have to do any seaming whatsoever. It's all done with picking up stitches and then knitting things. So that's really cool. And oh, its little tail. So cute. Yeah, I haven't woven in the ends on the sweater yet. Big shocker. So yeah, for the sweater, I used leftovers that I had of some Noro Silk Garden. I had a bunch of different colorways left over from a night shift shawl that I made for my best friend for Christmas last year. So I just used my leftovers and just, I used one colorway for, the background, and then I used a different colorway for the patterning. So it kind of gives like this faded effect. And I did have to piece together a few pieces, like choice colors, to try and finish it off because I ran out. And then you can notice that the orange kind of blends into this like terracotta color. It's because I ran out of the one color and had to improvise. And the sleeves aren't perfectly matched because Noro yarns, like at least the Silk Garden ones, are kind of like a fading yarn. So it changes color throughout. So yeah, it's hard to get a perfect match for sleeves, but I think it did a pretty good job. Close enough. So yeah, I'm also done. This is my FO. I'll give you some details. I used a US 7 4.5 millimeter needles. I used DPNs for this, which is great because I ran out of cords for my projects. I had too many projects on the go for my Chow Goose set. And so all my cords were in use, the smaller sizes. So it's good that I had DPNs, which worked out perfectly. And I forgot to mention the stuffing for the bunny. So it does call for polyfill, but from an environmental perspective, I'd like to stay away from that. So I had been saving, I mentioned this on my last episode, I had been saving all of my yarn ends and just saving them in jars and bags or whatever, wherever. And basically I had, this whole jar was full. And then I had a little bit more in a little bag, and that I used every last bit to stuff this bunny. In fact, when I was like, finishing like an ear or whatever, I'd cut the ends off and then I would like use those ends to stuff too. Because I was literally ran out. Like this is new stuff that I've added in now since then. But like it was down to the wire. It was like to the point where I was like very encouraged to weave in all my ends because I needed to cut them to be able to use them to stuff the bunny, which also led to me doing a lot more weaving in of ends on my Marie Wallin cardigan that I still haven't finished because I needed the ends to stuff. Anyways, I ended up with enough, and yeah, I think they're very cute. And I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this last time, but I might make another one. I have some cream colored worsted yarn that I think would be really cute for a bunny, and make like a little girl version for our neighbor and do like a pink dress or something super girly, super pink, because I don't get to do that stuff anymore. Anyways, so yeah, that is Dusty Bunny. And it took me 65 grams of yarn to make the bunny. So like just over half a skein of the classic wool worsted, Patton's classic wool worsted. So that's not too bad. Alrighty. Oh yes. Now we're gonna move on to something I like to call failed object. So if you're a returning viewer, you might know that I've been working on converting a sweater to a cardigan for the first time. And the sweater pattern is called the Treysta, which is a pattern by Jenna Steingass. I'll pop in a picture so you can see what the sweater looks like. So my plan was to knit the sweater, but add in steek stitches so that I could cut it open later and turn it into a cardigan, because I really wanted just like a let loopy, throw on kind of cardigan. So everything was going great. Well, I've already restarted it once. Firstly, I made the wrong size. Then I went back and made the largest size in the pattern. So I'll show you what I have. This is my Treysta. So I have finished it. I have finished knitting essentially the pullover, and there's my steek stitches. So yeah, bound off both sleeves. I think last time I hadn't finished the sleeves. I didn't go back in and add in extra length, and I'm kind of glad at this point I didn't, because when I went and tried it on, now that I had both sleeves on, I tried it on. I can get it on, but it's skin tight. So like, it doesn't function the way I wanted it to function. My intention was to have a bit of an oversized cardigan that I can throw on top of, you know, t-shirts, whatever. It's my own fault, because what do they say? When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me, or something like that. I made an assumption, which I should not have done. So I had knit a Jennifer Steingass pattern last year, inlet Lopi, called the Talia. And I didn't look at the gauge, of this new one, just assumed that because both patterns had been designed by Jennifer Steingass, inlet Lopi, that the gauge would be the same. Wrong. The gauge on the Treysta is much looser. I think it was 18 stitches per 4 inches, whereas the gauge on the Talia is 20. And I was tight when I knit my Talia. I was getting 23 stitches, which worked out okay. The Talia fits fine because it's an oversized kind of sweater anyways, so it still fit fine. And it fit the way I wanted it to, in fact. So I just assumed that, you know, if I use the same needle size with the same yarn, that I was going to get the same kind of outcome. But I didn't, because you don't cast on as many stitches. It's just smaller. It's just a smaller, overall smaller sweater. So it's like, I was supposed to get, what was it, 49? What did I write it down? 49.75 inches is the largest size if you're on gauge, which would have been perfectly fine for my 45-inch bust. That's like almost 5 inches of ease, and that would have been great. But when I measured it, I got 40 inches. And again, it's because I knew what my gauge was. I just didn't look at the pattern gauge for some stupid reason. I just assumed it would have been the same as the other one. So my own fault. So I'll be frogging this, because 40 inches, I do not need a negative 5 inches of positive, how do you say that? I don't need 5 inches of negative ease on my cardigan. Like, even if I put a button band in there, let's say I put like a 5-inch button band, I'd just be up to like my bust size. Oh, jeez. Anyway, solid learning experience. I've learned my lesson. Don't assume. Never assume. Anyways, I've made my peace with it. Yes, it's going to be frogged. I saved it to show you guys because I wanted to show you I actually finished it all. But yeah, at some point I will just rip it out. I'm glad I didn't steek it yet, right? At least I didn't just assume it was going to fit and then steek it and then be like, oh my God. Because then trying to repurpose the yarn would be much more difficult. And I'm sorry if you don't know what steeking is. Sorry, that's where you literally knit in the round and then you go at the end, you cut your knitting. So once I cut this open, you know, I would have kind of made my yarn a little bit useless. So at least I can salvage it. It's not a complete lost cause. And yeah, I thought about giving it to somebody, but like everyone, not even kidding, like everyone in my life, like adult wise, is like pretty close to my size chest wise. So I don't know who could take it other than my kids, but Letlopis are very rustic wool, and I did make them touch it to see. Like, so okay, anyways, doesn't matter. I'm frogging it. I've made my peace. I don't know if there's anything else to say. Like I said, I used Letlopi. Ice-Tex Letlopi in 4 different colors. The colors are so pretty to me. So this brown is Acorn Heather, I think it's called. This really light color is Light Beige Heather. This yellowy color is called Golden Heather. And then there's like a light brown here. That's Oatmeal Heather. Yeah, I love the color combination. It would have, if it would have worked out, it would have been my dream cardi, but that's okay. Live and learn. Okay, so that's my failed object. So now we'll move into whips. Just trying to think what to start with here. I don't have very many whips to show today. I didn't do any work on my Samfree, which is a pattern by Marie Wallin, so I'm not going to show it today. Oops. But I did do some work on my Daffodil. So Daffodil is a pattern by Marie Wallin. It is found in this springtime collection book, but you can get the pattern individually as well on its own off of Ravelry. Pattern is not size inclusive. I should say the Treysta also not size inclusive. However, the Telia that I knit last year is size inclusive. Pretty sure it had like several sizes in it. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why the Treysta isn't. Maybe it's because it was published in Lina magazine and they can only, or at least back in the day, I think they only did a few sizes, and I don't know if that was to save space in the magazine or what. Anyways, trying to be forthcoming. This is more size inclusive now. Midori Hirose has changed the pattern to account for larger bust sizes and stuff. So that's a good thing. All right, so I showed last time that I had finally finished the back piece of my Daffodil. I'll just show you again, just to recap. I should really wash and block this just so it stops rolling. But yeah, this is what it is. Woo, all the way down. And it is just, it's really fun to work on. Like I really enjoy it. It's so different than all of the other projects. Like when you're just doing even just color work, to switch it up and do some lace and cables, it's really, I don't know. I find it really keeps my interest. That's why I like to switch between them. I find it fun. So yeah, it's a series of lace and cable, textured stitches or panels across. And I am knitting mine up out of Holzgarn Super Soft in the colorway Sweet Pea, which Holzgarn Super Soft is a combination. I think it's 50% Shetland wool, 50% merino. And this is what I have for the front. I do love that you start with the back because you kind of get all of your, hopefully, you get all your mistakes out of the way at the beginning and then on the back part, so no one's going to notice, hopefully. And then you move on to the front. So yeah, I finished the ribbing and now I've just started doing the patterning, and it's going to be patterning for quite some time. I think it was like 55 centimeters for the back or something like that. So not quite as much for the front because I think you start doing the shaping earlier, but it'll be a lot of knitting. But yeah, like I said, it's slow going, but I really enjoy it. It's really, really fun. Really, really fun. So what else did I want to say? I mentioned the yarn. So Holskarn's super soft. This is my first time using it. And I actually ordered it from their, like the Holstgarn store, I guess, in Denmark when they were having a sale. I bought 4 cones of different, like all different colors, 4 different colors of their yarn. And I think they worked out, like, I can't remember exactly what the price was, but it was like $18 US or something for a cone. And even with the shipping, it still worked out to be like, I forget, it was like, I think it worked out to be something like $30 a cone. And you get 500 meters of yarn per cone. So it's like 5 full skeins. Actually, it's 10 because I think theirs come in 50 gram. But anyways, it's a huge amount. And I think there's like there's over 3,100 yards or something like that on a cone. Like it's a large amount of yarn. So it's a really good deal. I'm just throwing it out there. If you're looking for an affordable rustic yarn. And it's really good for color work. I obviously haven't done color work with it yet. I've just done this one lace and cables project, but I know lots of people who use it for color work too. And it really blooms. Like it starts off, the yarn looks, let's see if I can show you. It looks really thin. Like I was like, that's not fingering weight. But when you wash it, because it has all of the kind of the, is it the spinning oil or machine oil, whatever, it has oils in it, hasn't had that final processing of it. Once you wash it, like the yarn just like blooms and softens up. Because right now it feels really crunchy. Actually, it feels greasy and crunchy all at the same time. But it doesn't bother me at all. It's kind of sheepy, but also smells a little bit like oily. But yeah, I really like it. And the color, it never picks up. It is like multi-dimensional. It's not just like a flat pink. There's purple speckles and like yellow, and I've seen some red ones every now and then too. Like it's just really, really, really beautiful. Anyways, there's my plug for Super Stuffed. Also, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I just talk about what I love on this podcast. Okay, so I'm making the daffodil. I used US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle for the ribbing, and US 2, 2.75 millimeter needles for the rest, like for the body. I'm making the size XL, which accommodates a 44 to 46 inch bust. And my gauge is loose, so it's actually, yeah, it's knitting up bigger than it should be, but that's okay. I'd rather have it a little bigger than too small. Oh, too funny. Oh, and I'm knitting this up as part of our Marie Wallin make-along, of course. Another year of MW Mal. But I'm going to show my little bag here too, because I love it. It's housed in this adorable little fox bag by My Needlecrafts, which is a Canadian bag maker on Etsy. I will put links to everything that I mentioned down below as well, to Ravelry project pages and shops if I mention, like My Needlecrafts, stuff like that. Okay, so next up, I have a new cast on. Once I got my Treysta off the needles and, came to terms with the whole frogging bit, I was like, well, I need to cast something on now because I have free cord. So I've gone ahead and cast on another Jennifer Steingass pattern this time. Double check the gauge. And although I'm not on gauge, I never get right on gauge. It's very tricky for me. I'm a very loose knitter. However, in this instance, I'm knitting apparently tighter. That's okay. It's only by like 1 stitch, and I've done some math to see how it's going to turn out. So I'm making, it's called Brightfeather, and I'll pop in a picture of what it looks like. Finished project. Longer term viewers might remember that I had cast this on a little while ago. I'm trying to remember when it was. Back in the summer, maybe late spring. And I never showed it again. And what had happened was I had used 2 colors that ideally I wanted to have something that had a lower contrast in it. But I ended up not liking it. It was too low contrast. Like I couldn't make out the feathers, which is like kind of the interest of the sweater. So I ended up, and I actually did, I think, 3 different versions. I tried 3 different versions and none of the colors were working for me. So Nutiden had a shop update a few months ago, and I can't remember when it was, but I ended up purchasing a brown color that I thought would work perfectly with the very pale pink that I've been trying to like contrast with this whole time. Okay, so I'll just show you what I have and then I'll talk more about it. So this is what I have. Sorry, it rolls. So hard to show. It's just the start of the feathers. Let's see if you can see the colors. So it's this really, really, really pale pink. And then this is like a golden brown. The pink is called Vilgot, and the brown is called Manning. And I'll show you them in the balls because I've wound them up in balls. These are the 2 colors. This is the pink. It's really pretty. Never shows up as pretty on camera. And this just looks like a plain brown, but it's actually very beautiful. It's like a golden. And there's like red in it. Never noticed that before. Anyways, those are the 2 colors that I'm using. Nutiden, I'm holding the strands double for each. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's so soft. It's gonna be so warm. And what can I say about this one? Needle-wise. So I used US 3 to cast on, US 3 3.25 millimeter needles to cast on for the neckline. So it's got this rolled collar. And then I did I'm using US 4 3.5 millimeters for the non-color work sections, and then US 6 4 millimeter for the color work. So I always have to go, I've learned this about myself. If there's a pattern that calls for color work mixed with non-color work, I have to go up 2 sizes in my needles to make sure that my color work's not too tight. For some reason, I'm a very tight color work knitter apparently, even though I'm a loose knitter overall. So anyway, so that's what I've done. And my gauge is, I'm getting 23 stitches per 4 inches. I should be getting that on both the color work and the non-color work, which is perfect. Looks about the same. And like I said, I'm not on gauge with the pattern. So the pattern calls for 22 stitches per 4 inches. But again, when I did the calculations, I should end up with a 49.74 inch finished bust at my gauge. I'm making the size G, which is supposed to have a 52 inch finished bust circumference. But like I said, because of my gauge, it will not be 52 inches. It will be more like 49-ish. And that is perfect. So yeah, that's my Brightfeather. Not much to see yet, but I just love this pink. It's so pretty, so delicate. I just hope it's not gonna wash out. Like, I'm very pale, as you can see. I just hope it's not gonna be too pale on me. Oh, it's even paler than I am. That's good. I think the brown will help. So yeah, that is my newest cast on and my another current work in progress. one more thing I want to mention. I didn't do this intentionally. It just worked out that way, but it was the free project bag that I had right now. It's this beautiful naturally hand-dyed project bag by Natural You, which is a Canadian natural hand dyer of yarns and obviously project bags. And yeah, the color is just like, I don't know if you can see, where's the pink side there? They match perfectly. It's like pink and brown. No, that was funny. So that's where this project is housed. Although this is not a great project bag for Nutiden. I talk about Nutiden a lot in my last episode, so I'm not going to go into it like in depth in this one, but basically like deep project bags where your balls can go down and then like you have to pull them out often leads to breakage. So it's not an ideal situation for this particular yarn. I'll say that. I just have to be careful with it. Okay. I think we will now move on to future plans. I don't know. I'm on this huge like let Lopey or Lopey kick right now for some reason. So I really want to make the Riddari by Vedis Jonsdottir. I'll pop a picture in what it looks like. It's just a really pretty, or actually it's kind of unisex. You can make it for men or women. It's a Lopey sweater pullover. And I really, okay, so I have some leftover Plotu Lopey that I have in white. And I've been thinking like, oh, what can I make with it? Like, I found a color palette on Instagram. And I was like, yeah, that's it. That's what I want to do with my white. So I'll pop in a picture of the project that it was inspired by. It's a different pattern. I think it's the Margaret sweater or something like that. But the color palette is what I was going for. I'm like, yes, this is so me. I love turquoise and rust. And together, oh, they make a beautiful combination. And I wouldn't necessarily have thought of that on my own. So anyways, that's what I think I'm gonna make is the Riddari. And I'm gonna use my Plotu Lopey leftovers, and then I'll have to purchase the rust. I have a little bit of rust, but it's a darker rust. And I think I really want that lighter apricot color just to brighten it up. So I think I'm gonna have to order some, just a little bit though, because it's just for the colorwork sections. So the two turquoises and the rust, or the apricot. So, oh, and I did a mock-up of the Riddari using an app that I downloaded. What the heck is the name of it? I'll put it here because I can't remember. It basically allows you to like take a picture, import a picture, and then you can like color things in and like change colors and stuff like that. So I was like just playing around to see how it would look, how I wanted my pattern to go. And so I made a mock-up. I'll pop that in so you can see it. And I think I learned about that from Bella of 100 Acre Wool last year. I want to say it was last year. She was the one who mentioned this app that she had used, I think, to make something. I can't remember what. But anyways, it's pretty cool to be able to use that for color work and to see how the colors are going to look together. I've also done things where you like just color on coloring, like on graph paper or whatever. Wow, the sun's really coming out now. Sorry if it's super bright. I can't really see what's happening. But I'm nearing the end anyway. So, okay. So Riddari, that's one of my next ones. And then, I went ahead and purchased the Freddy Beach Socks pattern by Nancy Wheeler, who is a Canadian designer. And this sock pattern looks so fun. Actually, I got a couple. I got that one, and I got, what's the name of the other one? I'm blanking out on it now. It's got, oh, I think it's like By the Seashore or By the Sea or something like that. I'll pop the name in. She has a bunch of really beautiful sock patterns, designs that she's just been releasing recently. I think she's working on a brand new one right now too. So I saw this Freddy Beach socks one and I thought the texture looked really interesting. And I have a bunch of like kind of variegated sock yarns that I purchased a while ago. And this is one of them. Hopefully it's not blowing out too much. So it's like a turquoise and kind of like a sandy, muddy kind of brown. And it's by Sweet Skein O' Mine, which is a Canadian indie yarn dyer out of Fredericton in New Brunswick. And coincidentally, I believe Nancy Wheeler's in New Brunswick as well. And this, the colorway is called Up Knit Creek, which is pretty perfect. It's a superwash merino nylon blend, 75-25, 463 yards per 100 grams. Now, what's special about this yarn is that I actually purchased it on our family trip out east in 2018. So we took our 2 kids and we went out east and we hit up four different provinces. Yes, we went to Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. And unfortunately, we didn't make it to Newfoundland, but one day, I've still never been. So anyways, while we were on our trip, everywhere we went from each province, I tried to get a skein of yarn that was from a hand dyer. Yeah, I think they were all like hand dyer from that particular province. And not only that, but I wanted the colorway to remind me of the province. So this one was New Brunswick. And the reason I chose it was because we went to see the Bay of Fundy, which is a big, obviously, tourist attraction. If you don't know what it is, I'll pop in some pictures. But yeah, it totally reminded me of it because it reminded me of like the way that when the tide is going out, like the water starts to get kind of murky looking and you get this like kind of muddy look to the water with the differing tides. So I thought, I don't know, I just thought this was perfect, and that's why I chose it. So now I'm gonna knit the Freddy Beach socks, and the Freddy Beach socks are apparently named after the Fredericton Beach. The yarn's from Fredericton. Reminds me of of New Brunswick. It's just the perfect match. So yes, this is what I'll be doing with that. I'm excited. Yeah, so those are 2 future plans that I have. Also want to mention that I don't know, my luck's been really good with giveaways. So I actually won 2 giveaways this past year, and I received the 2 prizes. So I'm just looking for them. Where'd they go? Buried everything. There's one. I received the 2 prizes actually the same week, which was kind of funny. Okay, well, firstly, Cher of the Lathe and Loom podcast had a giveaway on her channel. And I ended up winning these gorgeous, look at this little gift bag. Isn't that adorable? These gorgeous 100% wool yarns from Woodsong Farm. Natural and heritage fiber and animals. Family loved non-GMO fed sheep, natural or dyed to organic standards. Bassett, Virginia. And so it's a combination of, are they all the same? Fin sheep, mohair. Yeah, fin sheep 85% and mohair 15%. So I got this lovely natural kind of beigey gray color, and then a little mini skein of a beautiful red kind of cranberry color. So I think these are going to make beautiful socks. And because it has a mohair in it, I'm interested to see, there's no nylon, but I'm interested to see if the mohair like kind of provides that durability that typically nylon would, because if so, that's awesome. Because I'd love to get away from all plastics if possible. But yeah, this feels definitely very sheepy. And is it non-superwash? It doesn't say, but I'm gonna guess so. It feels it. It feels quite rustic, which is perfect because I, just as an update, sorry, I'm getting off track here, but as an update, I finished a pair of just simple, yeah, they were simple 3x1 rib socks the other day, a couple months ago. Oh my gosh, time's flying. Anyways, I finished a pair of socks out of non-superwash. They do have nylon in them, but they're non-superwash Urso Yarn Co. yarns. And oh my gosh, they are so warm. They are so unbelievably warm, like in a good way. Like, I can't believe the difference because I wore them and then I was wearing, so I wore them for a week and then I was wearing some superwash yarn socks that I had made and my feet were freezing. Like, it wasn't nearly as warm at all. Of course, they're still like, the superwash ones are still better than like cotton socks or whatever, polyester, whatever socks normally are, like the non-handmade ones are. But yeah, this non-superwash sock yarn is amazing. So there's that. Oh, and it came with little, I think it came with a little progress keeper that had a little sheep on it. And then these little bobbiny things, the little sheep. It was all tied up all nice and cute. And some tea, which was very lovely. And then, okay, I know it's here somewhere. Oh, found it right in front of me. And then I also won a giveaway by Selma of Little Big Knits podcast. So she sent me a lovely card. I forgot to grab it. But anyways, the card is really pretty. It's this woman holding a skein of yarn, and yeah, it's just really cute. And she got me this beautiful little notions bag. And this is by Jenna Rose, I believe. Oh, there was another one. So yeah, inside there were a bunch of little goodies too. There's some, oh my gosh, this smells so good. This is that Tuft Woolen soap, natural handmade soap. Smells so good. What scent is this? Are they all the same? I don't even know. Tuft Woolen's Pom Pom Pucker Sock Soap. Oh my God, I love it. So I got some of that. Then I got a little tin to keep little stitch markers in. It's very cute. And there were, oh, here's the little sheep progress keeper that I mentioned. That Cher got me. And then from Selma, I got a little cat progress keeper, of course. And a few little light bulb stitch markers. And these, which I've never used yet, which is great. I don't have a set of these little stitch stoppers. And they're turquoise, which I love. So that was really cute. And then, oh, that's mine. Came with a sample of soak. I love soak. What scent is this one? Fresh, oh, fig. I haven't tried that one. So that's cool. I'm excited to try that. And then came with this beautiful wooden needle holder with a bunch of different size needles inside. If you can see. So pretty. I think this was from Pip and Pin. Some of these were from Pip and Pin that she had gotten. Love that. So nice. But look at that bag. It's got mushrooms and moths and the moon. I just think it's beautiful. Really pretty. So I've been eyeing, now that I know, Jenna Rose's bags. I may have to purchase a full-size bag as well. She has some really nice stuff. And she's, I don't know if I mentioned, but she's a Canadian bag maker. So I will obviously put links down below to everything, as I mentioned. So yeah, I was very spoiled. I felt very, very spoiled winning these giveaways. It's always so nice getting little things in the mail, isn't it? It's so fun. Okay. All right, now I think, oh, okay. Now we have the Spread the Love segment. So on today's episode, I have 3 podcast recommendations for you. And we're going to start with the lovely Amelia. Amelia is the host of the Amelian Style podcast here on YouTube. She's over in Sweden, and she is like an extremely accomplished knitter and hand spinner. She's just, I don't know, she just has so much talent. She's able to just wing things and pull together like beautiful projects. And she knows so much about spinning. I've been loving it because I've really been wanting to get to try hand spinning with a drop spindle. And so she's been offering a lot of tips on her podcast about, you know, the best fibers to start with for beginners, and, you know, how to do it and the differences between the different fibers, and like, I don't know. She's a wealth of knowledge, and I really enjoy it. She's also making, she was making the Daffodil, but she had an unfortunate series of events that happened that led up to her Daffodil being, now the yarn has been repurposed for another project. But the project that she's making with it is really cool because she's using a dark green color, and I can't remember the yarns. I can't remember. I think it's like Drops Alpaca or something. And she's pairing it with this beautiful, like silvery, I think it was silver, mohair. And she said she was inspired the other day when she woke up and she looked outside, and the grass was all frosted. They had like that little frosted tips on them. And she thought that would just be perfect. Like, that's a great combination. I find that so beautiful. That's such a great inspiration. So she started making this, I think it's the Water Lily sweater, which was a free pattern on the Unit website. I don't think it's free anymore. Unit, if you follow them, EWE Knit. They're a Toronto, so Canada based local yarn shop, and they release patterns as well. Like, they do their own designs, kind of like, you know, how Espastrico does their own. So they do that, and they've been offering a free design every few days. So yeah, keep an eye out. I've grabbed a few. So yeah, I'm excited to see how Amelia's Water Lilies turns out. She's also making the Yellow Cardigan by Marie Wallin for our make along. And it's coming along beautifully. Is she using Holskarn? Amelia, are you using Holskarn Super Soft? Or are you using the Alope? I forget now. Anyways, it's turning out beautifully. And yeah, and most of all, Amelia is just a really, really kind and sweet individual, and I very much enjoyed getting to know her. She participates often in our little knit nights over on the Slack app, and yeah, she's a wonderful person. So I highly recommend that you check out her podcast. Okay, next up we have Mel Made, and Mel is the host of this podcast, and I believe Mel is over in the UK. She likes to make a lot of intricate knits. She's done a lot of Marie Wallin patterns, and as well as like Alice Starmore. She's done an Alice Starmore, at least one. She showed that her Catherine Parr. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name. But she showed it on her very first episode, and it's just, yeah, her knitting is fantastic as well. Just gorgeous, gorgeous makes. And it seems to me that she really loves a challenge. She seems like she's always making things that challenge her, for sure. At one point she was making a top for a friend, and something happened with the pattern. She was missing like pieces of the pattern. Like, it was a paper pattern and there was only like portion of it, so she had to wing it and just like make it up, and it turned out beautifully. She did a great job. Anyways, I highly recommend that you check out Mel over on Mel Made. And then finally, I've already mentioned Nancy Wheeler, the designer of the Freddy Beach socks that I'll be making. She's also a podcaster. So she is, like I mentioned, she's based in Canada, New Brunswick, and she has the podcast called Knit Sip Happy. And I've watched it for the first time the other day, like last week or so. I can't remember time. Anyways, recently. And she's so funny. She's great. She's making beautiful makes. She loves, I think she loves purple and pinks, I think. I see a lot of purple and pinks. But yeah, she's making beautiful colorwork designs, and she's just really funny. And she drinks wine on every episode, I hear. So you can't go wrong there. Anyways, yeah, I highly recommend that you also check out Nancy's Knit, Sip, and Happy podcast. All right, so that's it for the making talk, and now I'm going to move into just some chit-chat, life stuff. Nothing too crazy going on. I mentioned in my last episode that I would be taking pottery lessons every Saturday for the next 5 weeks, and they've been going really well. I've really been enjoying it. Each lesson we learn different techniques. We're doing the hand building, so not like the more advanced like pottery wheel stuff where you're spinning things and like ghost, the ghost scene. That's not me. We're hand building. We're not there yet. So this is a hand building course. So we literally like Play-Doh for adults. We sit and we play with our clay and mold things. No, but we were making functional things for the most part, I hope. I don't know. I keep thinking like, how does this tie into like my knitting? Yeah, so the first day we did bowls, and all I kept thinking was, this would make a perfect yarn bowl. Oh, this would make a perfect yarn bowl as well. How many yarn bowls do we need? Yeah, so it's been really great. So we've made 2 bowls, 1 mug, which I was like so thrilled about. And then something else I'm not going to mention because it's going to be my mom's Christmas gift, and I know she watches the podcast, so I'm not going to ruin the surprise. And then next week, sorry, not next week, tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to be making boxes, I think. Oh, yes, but we're going to do luminary. We had the option. We can do just like a box with a lid, or we can do luminaries. So like a box where you carve out different shapes and then you put candles in it, and then it, casts light through the openings. Anyway, luminaries. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's been really fun. Really, really fun. And on our last class, so tomorrow's class is the second last class, and then the week after is the last one. And on the last one, we get to glaze all of the things that we've made and choose our colors and stuff like that. So that's a really exciting part too. I'm so looking forward to that. And so far, I think all of my things have not cracked on me, because apparently if you have any air bubbles or any like small cracks and stuff, you put them in the kiln, it can just explode. And I don't think any of mine have yet. Actually, I haven't seen my mug. I hope it's there. Anyways, we haven't taken anything home yet, so I have nothing to show you. But on the next podcast, I should have all of them, so I can show you if you're interested. So that's what I've been doing. Oh, and I forgot to mention, one of the highlights of the pottery class was the very first class. And we went in. It's very it's super chill, and it's just a small class. There's just the 4 of us and our instructor. And you get in there, and the owner has like her little French bulldog running around, and the French bulldog's name is Lily, which is also my daughter's name, by the way. And so Lily's running around, and she's so friendly and cute. And then I see this thing out of the corner of my eye, like dashing around, and I'm like, what is that? I thought it was a Chihuahua. I don't think I've ever seen a Chihuahua in real life, like in person. Anyways, I thought it was a Chihuahua, and then when I got close to it, I realized it was a hairless cat. I'm gonna pop a picture in. If you're squeamish, I'm sorry. She looks like a gremlin. She looks like a total gremlin, but she is so sweet. Like after I found her and realized what she was, and she's a kitten. I just started moving my finger around, and she loved me after that. I was her plaything. So she followed me everywhere, and she ended up curling up in my lap and slept the entire class in my lap. It's so cute. Anyway, she's got a really great personality, but she's hard to look at. They got costumes for them, and for Halloween, and they got Pearl is the hairless kitten's name. They got Pearl this little bunny, fluffy pink bunny suit. Like, it's not a suit, it's just like a hoodie basically that they slip over her head and then put it on bunny ears. Oh my gosh, I died. Oh, it looks so cute. She hated it, but anyways. Okay, so I met my first hairless cat. Highlight of the last 3 weeks. Okay, in terms of other things, like I said, life stuff, we haven't been doing too much. Nothing really all that exciting. I've started listening to a new audiobook because it's supposed to encourage me to go walking. I'm just listening to the audiobook on my lunch hour and not walking. Anyways, I'm supposed to be getting out to listen to this audiobook. But the audiobook is called Moon of the Crusted Snow, and it's by Waubgeshik Rice. And Waubgeshik Rice is he's an indigenous author now. But he used to be like a host on our local CBC here, or Sudbury CBC radio station. For up north, I think it was. Anyways, he was a host here. And so I recognized his name and I was like, oh, I forgot he had written a book. That's really cool. So I was like, okay. So I read, just like the summary of what the book was about, and it seemed interesting. So I've been listening to it. The gist of it is it's about a northern Anishinaabe community, like indigenous community reserve that it's not based on a true story. It's like an apocalyptic kind of deal. So apparently it gets cut off from the rest of the world essentially, and then people start, I don't know, fighting with each other, maybe losing their minds a bit. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but basically they get cut off from the rest of society. So far in the book, all that's happened is they're realizing that they have no cell service and they have no now they have no electricity, which is a bit of a big deal because they've converted from, they used to run on like diesel generators and stuff, and now the houses kind of converted to electricity when they put in a transmission line. Anyways, it's really good though, because that's just the gist of the story, but it's really following this one right now. It's following a man named Evan and his family, and he's kind of trying his best to carry on his Anishinaabe ways. And yeah, it's just really interesting. So it talks about him like hunting a moose and like being successful and like giving thanks and doing like a tobacco prayer, and the fact that he can't do it in Cree because he's lost the ability to, or he never had the ability to speak the language, and like he wished he could do it, but he's been learning from the elders and stuff. Anyways, yeah. I don't know. I love stories about like indigenous people. I've mentioned this before. Louise Erdrich is like one of my all-time favorite authors, and she's an American indigenous writer. I don't know. I just love it. So it's pretty cool to find a Canadian one. So yeah, so that's what I'm listening to. I'm only on chapter 4, so I'm not that far in, but so far it's kept my attention. It's very good. Okay, and then Netflix. We love zombies in this family, like anything zombie. So we just finished watching All of Us Are Dead, which was interesting, but I feel like it could have been summed up in a movie. Maybe this is like totally like scandalous of me to say, but it just seemed very drawn out, and I feel like it could have all been done in a a 2-hour movie or whatever. Like, anyways, if you don't know about it, it's about basically a zombie apocalypse that happens in starts, I think, in the Korean school and then spreads to the town or area. Anyways, so yeah, it's pretty gory. My gosh, it's way more gory than Walking Dead, I found, and I watch Walking Dead. So now we're rewatching Walking Dead, all the seasons, and Fear the Walking Dead, and all the zombie shows. Which leads me to a movie that we watched called Resident Evil. I've watched the old Resident Evil movies as well, which is also zombie related. So Resident Evil, I think the movie was called Welcome to Raccoon City. It was actually filmed, at least parts of it were filmed here in Sudbury, like in our city. And one of the scenes takes place just a street over from us, like, yeah, literally the street over, at a little restaurant called Gus's. I don't know if it's called, I don't think it's called Gus's in the movie, but it's in the little restaurant that they filmed in. And yeah, so that's cool. And like the kids appreciate that. But it's kind of cool that we can go see it. So in fact, we're actually going to Gus's tonight for supper. So we're gonna walk over there and have dinner. So yeah, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, the movie was pretty good, I thought. It was interesting. The series on Netflix, however, which recently got canceled for a good reason, was terrible. I hated it. It was so cheesy and silly. I just didn't like it at all. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Are you a zombie fan? Do you like zombies? If so, what's your favorite series? What's your favorite zombie movie? Let me know. And if you don't like zombies, what's your guilty pleasure? What do you like to watch? Let me know down below in the comments. And I think that's it for today. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope that everyone has a wonderful next 3 weeks and it's filled with wonderful weather, whether it be sunshine or, I don't know, cool autumn breezes. You get out to enjoy. If you're in a place that that is lucky enough to have change of colors, I hope you're able to get out and enjoy some of the beautiful colors that are just like making their way through right now. Oh, I love it. I love autumn. Anyways, have a wonderful next 3 weeks and I hope it's filled with lots of making. Bye.